I walked into the bank that morning thinking I was about to beg for a $7,000 loan. I had no idea that within minutes, the manager would look at my account, stop speaking, and ask me one question that completely changed my life. He said, "Sir, do you know that your account has had millions of dollars connected to it for years?" I thought he had made a mistake. Then he showed me the number on his screen, $6 million. And suddenly, I remembered the one person who had told me years ago that everything would make sense someday. 8 years earlier, my life had fallen apart. My grandfather had passed away, and not long after that, I was thrown out of the house where I'd grown up. I was angry, confused, and struggling just to survive. I took whatever work I could find and spent years trying to rebuild my life from nothing. My grandfather had always been different from everyone else in the family. He rarely talked about money. He never showed off, but he constantly told me one thing: never judge your future by what your life looks like today. After his death, I received a small envelope containing an old bank card and a handwritten note. The note said to keep the account active and never close it. I thought it was simply something sentimental. I opened the account and eventually stopped thinking about it. Years passed. Then one morning, I needed $7,000 urgently. I had bills waiting, my savings were almost gone, and I had nowhere else to turn. So I walked into the same bank and applied for a personal loan. The manager looked at my application and then looked at his computer. He asked me how long I had been a customer. I told him about 8 years. He became unusually quiet. Then he asked me whether I knew what was connected to my account. I laughed because I thought he was talking about my small balance. But he turned the screen toward me. I froze. There were records showing millions of dollars, connected to an account structure associated with my grandfather and my name. The manager explained that the situation was not as simple as seeing $4 million in an ordinary checking account. There were old deposits, beneficiary arrangements, investment records, and estate-related documents that required verification. He told me that the bank could not simply hand me the money. That was when I realized something important. My grandfather had not forgotten me. He had planned something. The manager brought out a file that had been sitting with the bank for years. Inside was a letter written by my grandfather. It explained that he knew our family would fight over his property after he died. He also knew I might be pushed away from the home. So he created a financial plan that would protect my future if certain conditions were met. The final page contained a sentence that made me cry. He wrote that if I ever reached the point where I needed money just to survive, I should remember that my worth had never been measured by the house I lost or the people who rejected me. I sat there completely speechless. I had entered the bank asking for $7,000. I left knowing that my grandfather had spent years preparing for a future I never knew existed. But there was one more surprise. The manager told me that the $4 million figure was not money I could immediately withdraw. It represented the total value connected to the financial arrangements and required legal and estate verification. That lesson stayed with me. Sometimes the biggest secret in your life is not hidden because someone wants to hurt you. Sometimes it is hidden because someone is trying to protect you. Until the right moment. And that day, I finally understood what my grandfather meant when he told me never to judge my future by what my life looked like today. I walked into that bank believing I was broke and desperate for $7,000. I walked out realizing that my grandfather had been protecting my future long after he was gone. The real inheritance was not the money. It was the message he left behind. Never let one terrible chapter convince you that your entire story is over. Sometimes the person you lost may have left behind something more powerful than money. They may have left you a second chance. What would you do if a bank manager suddenly told you that an old family account had changed your life?